Tonight, a tragic end to a frantic search for a missing newborn in Halifax.
I think it's atrocious. I'm really shocked by it.
The charge is laid, and what happened with the infant's mother now in hospital. The U.S. ambassador to Canada has a warning. Tariffs are here to stay.
We put tariffs on everybody in the world.
And the new potential trade irritant for the Trump administration. He may be 90, but make no mistake, David Suzuki is still a warrior for the well-being of the planet.
Where is the outrage and challenge? Like, this guy is a liar.
Direct shots of the U.S. president and Canada, too, all laid out in the Sunday interview.
From CBC News, this is The National with Ian Hannamansing.
Police in Halifax say they have found remains after a search this weekend for a newborn. It was sparked when the child's mother showed up in hospital in life-threatening condition, clearly having just given birth, but without the baby. For nearly 2 days, crews combed a Halifax neighborhood. Today, new information sent them elsewhere, and that's where they made the grim discovery. 2 people are now facing multiple charges, and as Kayla Hounsell shows us, the incident has shaken residents and police.
The search began with these dumpsters. On Friday night, police descended on this brand new apartment building in Halifax after receiving a call that a woman was in hospital in life-threatening condition. It appeared she had just given birth, only there was no sign of a baby.
It is a distressing call and a very sad event.
Staff Sergeant Pierre Bordage was the officer in charge. He says police have now located the remains of an infant in this wooded area just over 10 kilometers from the apartment. A 23-year-old male relative of the mother and his 26-year-old wife are facing charges, concealing the body of a child, indignity to a dead body, and obstruction.
We do know the mother went to hospital after suffering a medical emergency, so she was not a victim of a violent event or a crime.
Police won't say much about the medical condition of the baby's mother, but on Sunday morning they did say she remained in hospital in critical condition. They also said the baby was never at the hospital.
Just anything that might have stood out in the last 24 hours or so.
For most of the weekend, dozens of searchers with Halifax Search and Rescue combed the area, puzzling neighbors.
I think it's atrocious. I'm really shocked by it and couldn't imagine it.
This man owns a gift shop in a nearby strip mall.
The whole area was cordoned off.
He says police only told business owners they were looking for a missing person.
There are no words to even say anything in that regard. Like, it's so painful just to even imagine a baby being out there.
Bordage says this kind of crime affects the entire community and his fellow officers.
It is always difficult. Specifically, we have officers that have younger families. We have officers that have young babies.
An autopsy will now be conducted and the accused will appear in court Monday. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Halifax.
The U.S. ambassador to Canada says tariffs are here to stay. In an interview with Radio-Canada, Pete Hoekstra sounded off about trade. It comes as Ottawa weighs a decision on another potential trade irritant. J.P. Tasker explains.
Yes. Donald Trump's ambassador in Ottawa again making waves, now saying Canada has no hope of getting any substantial tariff relief.
We put tariffs on everybody in the world.
In an interview with Radio-Canada, Pete Hoekstra says there will be no exceptions.
There's different tariffs for different parts of the world depending on economic circumstances and that, but the concept of tariffs is uniformly applied to everyone that we trade with.
The comments come as Canada weighs another decision that could further snarl U.S. trade talks. The CRTC, the broadcast regulator, has decided to triple what American streaming giants like Disney and Amazon must pay to fund Canadian media content, demanding 15% of all their Canadian revenue go towards homegrown TV, movies, and news.
For God's sakes, let people come home and relax and enjoy their favorite binge-watching experience without paying yet another Liberal tax hike.
In an interview with CBC News, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre urged the Prime Minister to overrule the CRTC and block the hike, which he argues will be passed on to consumers. He's also warning it could antagonize the Trump administration.
We might see more steel, auto, aluminum, and lumber workers lose their jobs because of the retaliation that the Liberal tax hike might provoke.
Indeed, Trump's trade representative has railed against the Trudeau-era Online Streaming Act, which allows for these higher levies, saying Canada must drop a law that discriminates against U.S. tech and media firms if there's any hope of renegotiating CUSMA. The Motion Picture Association that represents the streamers also says a rate hike on them violates Canada's obligations to free trade. In Ottawa, Mark Carney kicked off the FIFA soccer tournament he's co-hosting with Trump next month, while his government considers whether to allow the CRTC rate hike to go ahead.
The Prime Minister could use the CRTC rate hike as a bargaining chip in trade negotiations. We saw this with his decision to scrap the digital services tax earlier this year, something American officials had lobbied for. The issue is, of course, the two sides haven't had any sort of formal trade talks in months.
But the Prime Minister is headed to the States this week. What do we know about that visit?
Yeah, Mark Carney will travel to New York to meet with industry titans and bankers as he looks to American business to put the pressure on Trump for a CUSMA deal. Ian?
JP Tasker in Ottawa. And before the Prime Minister makes that trip to New York, he'll be welcoming a delegation to this country. India's trade minister, along with more than 100 business leaders, will arrive Monday for a 3-day visit. The goal, to strengthen trade and investment ties. It's India's largest delegation of its kind to make an international visit. Western premiers begin a 2-day meeting tomorrow, and it could be quite tense. As Caroline Bargout shows us, the Alberta and BC premiers have been sparring at a distance. Now they'll come face to face.
As the premiers of the Western provinces and 3 territories prepare to meet in Kananaskis on Monday, the Alberta separatist movement looms large. The province will hold a referendum on October 19th on whether to have another referendum to split from Canada.
Alberta's government believes in allowing our citizens to be able to participate in democracy.
The issue tense within the province already.
I've never seen Alberta as divided as it is right now. Literally, neighbors don't speak with neighbors anymore.
Premier Danielle Smith says she wants the province to stay in Canada, but citizens must have their say. She has other issues to contend with. Smith and BC Premier David Eby have been exchanging barbs over a proposed pipeline to the BC coast, with Eby suggesting Ottawa agreed to the energy deal with Alberta because of the threat of separation.
We cannot have bad behavior decide who gets engaged with by the federal government.
While Smith blamed Canada's national unity issues in part on BC's resistance to the pipeline.
I think it's leadership in British Columbia who continues to try to put barriers in the way of us getting our product to market.
Monday will be their first face-to-face meeting since. This political science expert says those disputes won't derail the conference.
There will be tension. It'll be there. It may be discussed in sidebar conversations, but the focus of this meeting is going to be on trade.
She says the most pressing issue for the country right now is trade, and the premiers will need to figure out how to remove interprovincial trade barriers and find ways to grow the economy amidst the ongoing challenges with the U.S. Caroline Bargout, CBC News, Calgary.
The U.S. says it's getting closer to an agreement with Iran that could include reopening the Strait of Hormuz. But as Aaron Collins explains, exactly when and how many of the two countries' differences could be ironed out remains a mystery.
Lingering gridlock in the Strait of Hormuz, but talks to get these ships moving again, potentially picking up.
Some progress has been made, significant progress, although not final progress has been made.
The U.S. Secretary of State cautiously optimistic about a peace deal, but some familiar sticking points remain.
They will never possess a nuclear weapon, certainly not as long as Donald Trump is president of the United States. Related to that is this issue of the straits. Okay, this is an international waterway. They don't own it.
Still, an agreement seemed close on Saturday. Donald Trump posting that the final aspects and details of the deal are currently being discussed and will be announced shortly. But Sunday, a different tone from the president, writing that he did not want to rush into a deal and that time is on our side. Still, in Iran, more signs of movement. Iran's president says his country is ready to talk, insisting the country is not seeking a nuclear weapon. Progress to end the conflict, to be sure, but this deal not likely a final one.
It will end the war, but the key questions will be postponed for the next 30 or 60 days between the United States and Iran.
The biggest issue likely to be kicked down the road, the future of Iran's nuclear program. But opening the Strait of Hormuz would happen sooner, key to lowering global energy prices. Something politically popular on both sides of the aisle in the U.S.
My constituents are hurting. Gas is almost $5 a gallon. Diesel's almost $6 a gallon.
The price of nitrogen, ammonia, urea are through the roof because of the blockades and control of the Strait of Hormuz.
But even if the strait fully reopens, it will take time for shipping through the vital waterway to get back to normal.
Of course, for that to happen, the U.S. and Iran would have to actually reach a deal, an outcome that all sides seem to want, but one that remains stubbornly elusive.
And, you know, we should say, Aaron, the U.S. has claimed to be close to a deal before.
Yeah, that's right, Ian. I mean, if this all sounds a bit familiar, it should, right? Since this conflict began, Donald Trump has said several times that the U.S. and Iran were closing in on a deal. Of course, the president's also said intermittently that he was close to starting up attacks on that country again, too. So while this sounds a bit more concrete, specifically the fact that Iran appears to agree progress is being made, it really is difficult to say just how close we are to a lasting peace deal.
Aaron Collins in Washington tonight. Police have identified the shooter who opened fire on a White House security checkpoint Saturday evening as a 21-year-old Maryland man. The eruption of gunfire sent people running for cover. The gunman shot and killed by Secret Service officers, and a bystander is recovering from a bullet wound. Donald Trump was in the White House at the time. Court records show the suspect had previously been issued a stay-away order after trying to enter a different White House checkpoint without authorization. A Newfoundland man was convicted of murder today, 10 years after his wife's disappearance. As Colleen Connors tells us, a years-long RCMP undercover operation played a crucial role in the Crown's case.
A dramatic scene in a Newfoundland and Labrador courtroom Sunday as a jury found Dean Penny guilty of first-degree murder of his wife. Her family screamed as the jurors read out guilty, some fighting back tears.
I can say it's been a long time coming for the family. It's approaching 10 years since Jennifer Hillier-Penny went missing, and we're happy that we've concluded this matter today.
For Hillier-Penny's family, who have long blamed her husband for the killing, the verdict was a relief.
It's Jenny's day. I woke up this morning, left the hotel, I could feel her. I knew it was going to be good news.
His sister was last seen on November 30th, 2016. The 38-year-old mother of two had split with Penny. The jury heard the estranged couple argued. Then Penny pushed her down the stairs, struck her in the head with a hammer, and disposed of her body in the ocean. Details that only came to light after a 4.5-year undercover operation known as a Mr. Big Sting.
And her head was turned this way.
RCMP befriended Penny, making him a part of their fictitious criminal enterprise, eventually getting a confession. Hillier-Penny's body was never found, but for her family, the verdict is a step towards closure.
10 years of a dogfight, that's what I call it. We started from the day she went missing. I knew what happened to her the minute I heard she was gone, so we started our fight then. And I don't regret a thing I did, and would do it all over again. And the RCMP done an amazing job, and we owe everything to them, everybody involved, Team Jenny, all their support online.
Next is the sentencing hearing and the victim impact statements. The family has to wait until November for that. A first-degree murder verdict is an automatic life in prison with no eligibility for parole for 25 years. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
There's hope tonight a massive explosion at a chemical plant in California can be avoided. 50,000 people are out of their homes and a state of emergency remains in effect. Sheehan Desjardins explains why a crack in a tank that stores dangerous chemicals could actually be good news.
A pressurized tank filled with more than 20,000 liters of a toxic chemical at a California aerospace plant, and desperate efforts to keep it cool. Officials warn it will fail. The question is how.
The most catastrophic scenario being an explosion that results in other tanks to explode.
But the most likely scenario, a slow leak, and on Sunday, a bit of positive news.
What they found was a potential crack in the tank, which could potentially be relieving some of the pressure in there. It could change our trajectory and our strategy to this event.
And makes a huge blast less likely, according to experts. The crisis has been building since Thursday, when the liquid chemical began to overheat and turn to gas. Workers weren't able to cool the tank internally because the valves are clogged.
If you've ever left a can of soda in your car and then it heats up, and then you come in and you find out that the can exploded. Basically, you caused pressure to build up in the can, and then it exploded.
The GKN Aerospace plant in Garden Grove is about 10 kilometers from Disneyland. The surrounding area has been cleared out. Nearby evacuation centers packed as tens of thousands of people wait to return home.
For the last 24 hours, I've been like evacuation site hopping.
I feel really stressed out because I'm not sure what the future has to tell for us. I don't know how long this is going to be.
The chemical inside is methyl methacrylate, used to make things like plastics. Its vapor can cause skin and eye irritation and respiratory issues.
It's also a concern given the volume that's involved here. And if it's close to people, then that's pretty bad.
The aerospace company did apologize in a statement and said it's working around the clock to mitigate the risk so people can go back home. Chien Desjardins, CBC News, Toronto.
An Alberta woman says she's out nearly $13,000 after a paralegal took on her case but never delivered the settlement.
I thought this person is legitimate and he has a lot of credentials and that I could trust him.
Go public on why where you live could have an impact on how you're treated. With an election due later this year, Israel is preparing to determine the fate of Benjamin Netanyahu.
The policies of this government were the most divisive that we've ever seen, really, in Israeli history.
If we don't have Bibi, we will be nothing.
Could the longtime prime minister eke out another victory? And canoes constructed with concrete.
This isn't something you can Google.
We're back in 2. Russia's multiple strikes on Ukraine overnight killed at least 4 people, with Kyiv being the main target. Along with hundreds of drones and missiles, Russia unleashed a high-powered hypersonic missile for only the 3rd time during this war. Across the Ukrainian capital, damage was recorded in 40 locations. Benjamin Netanyahu's iron grip on Israeli politics may be in peril. By fall at the latest, he'll need to convince voters he deserves another term as prime minister. Several issues have hurt his chances, but Cameron McIntosh shows us why it's too soon to count him out.
The evening rush in a downtown Jerusalem market. Ask about Israel's future, its best hope for security. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu does well here.
If we don't have Bibi, we will be nothing.
You feel safe with Bibi?
Yes.
Contrast to this, outside Netanyahu's corruption trial in Tel Aviv, protesters clad in prison orange say the real danger to Israel is Netanyahu's government.
If they come into power next time, we have a fascist, nationalist government with religious fanatics.
First elected here to the Knesset in 1996 as prime minister, Netanyahu has led this country on and off for more than 18 years. Israel's longest-serving prime minister. Another election is coming. Anger over October 7th, controversies over judicial and democratic overhaul, along with concessions to the far right and religious Orthodox, have Netanyahu fighting at home. As efforts to reshape the region, wars in Gaza, Lebanon, and Iran all point to uncertain outcomes.
The policies of this government were the most divisive that we've ever seen, really, in Israeli history.
Political commentator Dalia Scheindlin says it is all entrenched opinions of Netanyahu. Polls consistently putting him below 50%.
His government, if the elections were held today, most likely, based on the overwhelming majority of polls, could not form a coalition with the current parties.
Opposition forces are aligning, among them 2 former prime ministers forming a new party, embracing some of Netanyahu's nationalist policies, like accelerated expansion of Israeli settlements, but, say supporters of the New Together party, without the division Netanyahu brings.
It's not serving us, not as a country, not as a nation, not as a people.
Anyone but Bibi's sentiments do resonate. Netanyahu's been the prime minister a long time.
Yes?
Too much time. I will put you, you will be better.
Scheindlin points to 30 years of political cunning. Would you bet against him?
Put it this way, anybody saying, that's it, Netanyahu's done, he can never recover from XYZ, whatever happened. Well, we have plenty of examples where he did recover.
Israel's ultimate political survivor about to be tested again. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Jerusalem.
David Suzuki's time on the nature of things may be over, but his work defending science most certainly isn't.
And where is the outrage and challenge? Like, this guy is a liar.
His message for Americans and Canadians alike. The outgoing Governor General is responding to criticism about her inability to become fluent in French despite years of publicly funded lessons.
You know, we can't learn a language overnight.
The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next.
The checker flag's there again for Kimi Antonelli, and he wins the Canadian Grand Prix.
That's Formula One leader Kimi Antonelli charging to victory, winning the Canadian Grand Prix Sunday in Montreal. It's the 4th straight race the 19-year-old Italian sensation has won this season. The lone Canadian driver, Montrealer Lance Stroll, finished 15th. A Calgary woman who hired a paralegal to take a contractor to court says she never received her $13,000 settlement. Her case is exposing major gaps in consumer protection and raising questions about who, if anyone, is overseeing paralegals. Rosa Marcatelli has our Go Public investigation.
The electrical was not completed. There's no lights.
Samantha Kirkpatrick did her research before choosing the paralegal she hired to sue a contractor she says did a shoddy job building her garage. She hired paralegal John McDonald in 2023.
I thought this person is legitimate and he has a lot of credentials and that I could trust him.
Over nearly 2 years, she paid him about $2,900 in fees. Then, last summer, McDonald told her the case had been settled for $13,000, saying he had deposited the money into his account and would transfer it later.
That set off alarm bells for me.
She says she still hasn't received the money. A few of McDonald's former clients tell Go Public they had similar experiences. His LinkedIn highlights paralegal work in Alberta, BC, and Saskatchewan. McDonald tells CBC News regulators in 2 provinces are looking into complaints from 2 of his former clients, so it would be inappropriate for me to comment, he said. He also says he's shutting down all paralegal services and now works in an unrelated field. The case is exposing gaps in many provincial paralegal systems, like Alberta, where Kirkpatrick lives. That province doesn't regulate paralegals. It does have an association, but it has little power to regulate or discipline them and protect consumers. That's a far cry from what's happening in Ontario, where paralegals are highly regulated by the Law Society.
So it's really quite unacceptable, I think, that there's no oversight, because it's the individual client who clearly needs the help.
I don't think he has the money. I think it's gone.
Go Public has learned there is an active fraud investigation by Calgary police involving McDonald. There are no charges at this time and no wrongdoing has been proven in court. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.
Our Go Public stories come from you. If you have a tip for the team to investigate, send an email to gopublic@cbc.ca. Tonight on The Breakdown, outgoing Governor General Mary Simon pushes back about the criticism she's facing for her inability to converse in French. But first, a big milestone for David Suzuki and a defiant message for those who deny science.
Money, celebrity, power, these are not part of what an elder's after. So you have a chance to reflect back on a life and say, God, I really messed up, and wow, that worked. And that, I think, is my my job. What have I learned in a lifetime to pass on to the kids?
At 90, David Suzuki may be retired, but he hasn't finished educating, and he still has a lot of fight in him.
What the hell is it going to take? Hello, I'm David Suzuki.
The scientist, environmentalist, and longtime television host was celebrated this weekend in Vancouver. Well-known friends, musicians, and notable environmentalists came from across Canada and the U.S. for the event.
I'm so happy to be able to wish you happy 90th birthday, David. I'm right behind you.
What an honor, what an honor.
I took the opportunity to speak with Suzuki about his legacy, the anti-science movement, and more, including a hot take on the recent Artemis mission. I don't want this to sound patronizing, but you walked up multiple flights of stairs to get here. We're talking, and we could have done this interview 25 years ago, and you would have seemed the same way. You are aging remarkably well.
Well, thank you very much. But I always say I chose my mom and dad carefully because I think genetics has a lot to do with it. But exercise, to me, is the most critical element that as an elder, we don't do enough. Mm-hmm. You look at the data, in terms of Alzheimer's, diabetes, stroke, heart attack, you go through all of these diseases of old age. And the one thing that can cut it down is not a drug, it is exercise.
Let's talk about your role as a science educator, especially at this moment in time, because it feels to me, like I don't have the data in front of me, but it feels to me like the anti-science movement is gaining popularity, at least in some places.
That is the most crushing aspect of our time now. But nothing illustrates it better than the current president of the most powerful, wealthy nation on earth, who can say climate change is a hoax, it's a scam, it's fake news.
It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world.
And where is the outrage and challenge? Like, this guy is a liar. He lies with every other, or at least he makes stuff up. Americans, there have been a very strong movement for renewable energy, getting off fossil fuels, and it's still going on. But he has done everything he can to sideline that. And we're doing it in Canada as well. Let's talk about the real crisis, which is an ecological crisis. We no longer are paying attention to boundaries that limit all animals. The amount of carbon in the atmosphere, the pH of the oceans, the nitrogen cycle. We live within those, but we think we're so smart that we uniquely don't have to pay attention to the boundaries.
I was born by the river in a little tent, just like.
As you celebrate your 90th birthday, a time of this incredible milestone, we're also at a time when I think there's a shift going on in Canada where people who maybe 5 years ago would have placed the environment at the top of the list, and now they're placing the economy at the top of the list. Yeah. And that includes, for many thoughtful, insightful people, pipelines. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's an indication. It's not something that's just come up now. I've said in public that Mark Carney, before he became a politician, was certainly the best informed potential politician about climate change of any person I know. And if he runs for office, I said I'll support him. Now that he's in office, he's doing exactly what I feared, and that is he's now behaving politically. I mean, this isn't something new. We had 10 years of a Harper government in which he dismissed climate change by simply saying, that's crazy economics. To try to do something is crazy economics. So by that simple statement, he was elevating the economy above the atmosphere that gives us air to breathe, that gives us weather, climate, and the seasons. That's crazy. But because the economy has come to assume this position of dominance, and Mark Carney is, let's face it, he's a banker. He's heavily invested in the economic system, which is in fact driving us into the ditch. It is the economy itself And there are two fundamental reasons for it, and economists admit this. Mark Carney, in his book, Values, says in the first chapter that Jeff Bezos' Amazon is valued by the economy in the tens of billions of dollars. Brazil's Amazon, the greatest ecosystem on the planet, has no economic value until it is logged, mined, dammed, or grows houses, cattle, or soybeans. Now, if that isn't an indication of how crazy this economic system is, and then to compound that, it's based on the creed of cancer, steady growth. You can't, in a finite world, you can't have growth forever. And most people I hang out with, scientists, agree we're past the sustainable level of our economy now. It's the economy that's destroying our future.
This is Jeremy. We are going for all humanity. Taker sheet, good roll pitch.
I'm curious about your view of the Artemis mission, to change topics for a moment, because that was a moment that really captured public attention and showed what science can achieve. You're shaking your head. What was your view of Artemis?
Been there, done that. We did that 60 years ago. And then it was truly an amazing event. But, you know, this time it was a stunt, for God's sake. We can get all the information they got without a human being in that satellite. It was a stunt. And
to what end? A stunt to what end?
Well, I mean, it's for NASA's future, and it's for, I guess, in the end, for SpaceX that Musk owns. It's going to go public very soon, and people are going to make a lot of money on it. That's all it is. To me, that the amount of money that went into, what the hell? And then we say we can't, you know, do things that can be done right now. It's a crazy time.
Let's finish by talking about the young generation, in particular, your grandchildren. You have 10 grandchildren?
I have 10 grandchildren.
Wow. What do you hope for them?
Well, what can I say? The reality is they know how serious it is. You know, everybody is going around. When Severn, my daughter, was 12 and gave a speech at Rio.
We've raised all the money to come here ourselves, to come 5,000 miles to tell you adults you must change your ways.
Everybody is going, wow, you know, the young ones, they're gonna make a difference. Now Greta comes along, and it's the same thing. Oh, the young ones, and people are telling me, oh, the kids in university now, they're different. And I'm going, what the hell are you celebrating for? That shouldn't be their job. They're talking about their future now. That's what mom and dad are here for. If mom and dad aren't warriors on their behalf, what the hell? Every parent hopes to leave their child in a better place than when they were young. Surely that's what every parent wants for their children. And every parent today knows that the world our children and grandchildren are getting is not the world we knew when we were their age.
Speaking of warriors, you still have a lot of fight in you.
Well, how can you not? With 10 grandchildren, you know, I thought being a father was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I just loved being a dad. I said, let's pump them out once every 2 years. Let's have another one. I never imagined that my children would give me the greatest gift I've ever had, which is grandchildren. And how can anyone as a grandparent not be a warrior on behalf of the world that we're leaving them? Because it is radically different from the one when we were young.
A few years ago, I was emceeing an event and introduced David, among others. Anyway, he started his presentation by criticizing me. I was standing right there for not mentioning the climate crisis at the beginning of my comments. He was fierce and fearless then, and as you can see, he still is. Coming up, Canada's 30th Governor-General, Mary Simon, reflects on her time in office and criticism about her inability to communicate in French.
Did it ever impede your ability to connect with Canadians not speaking French?
No, not at all.
Rosemary Barton's one-on-one with Simon, next. After 5 years, Mary Simon's term as Governor General is coming to an end. Now she's reflecting about her time serving Canada and the moments she'll never forget, some more somber than others.
The saddest part was to experience the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth.
Simon was Canada's first Indigenous Governor General. She's bilingual, but French is not one of those languages. She has faced criticism about her inability to speak French fluently. Chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton sat down with Simon to get her take on that critique.
I'm going to ask you about French because it became an issue. You obviously are bilingual. You speak Inuktitut, you speak English. You do not speak French. And it was talked about a lot, particularly in Quebec. I wonder whether you thought that was unfair.
Well, of course I think it's unfair, simply because, you know, we can't learn a language overnight. I didn't have the opportunity, like others, to take French when I was growing up. Even though I'm a Quebecer,
yes,
in northern Quebec, there was no language spoken that was French. And I grew up being bilingual in English and Inuktitut. Mm-hmm. So when the attack started to happen, you know, it seemed really strange that I would be the one being attacked when a whole committee of people that vetted the process came to the conclusion that I was the right person at the right time for this country. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's why I got appointed, not because I was Mary Simon, but because of the experience that I carry with me of 50 years.
Yeah.
And I think we have to understand, yes, okay, we have 2 official languages, but there are so many Indigenous languages in Canada that we're losing them. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to give more support to Indigenous languages. And we should all be proud of such a diverse country that includes all these different languages. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And yet, even my language in Inuktitut is like slowly weakening, because the official languages are supported to grow and be prosperous languages, whereas Indigenous languages are not. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if we're going to save Indigenous languages as a country, we have to do more.
Did it ever impede your ability to connect with Canadians not speaking French?
No, not at all. I mean, you know, I don't know if Canadians know this, but I did take it seriously to learn French.
You weren't pretending to learn?
No, I had a tutor. Yeah. I did 2 days a week, and I am in a position where I can read French, mm-hmm, and I can understand what I'm saying in a speech. At the beginning, I didn't.
You couldn't even do that, yeah.
Yeah. So when I speak French in my speeches, I understand what I'm saying. The only thing left after all this is said and done is the ability to have a conversation.
Right.
And that takes like time, and because French is so different.
Yes.
Even from Inuktitut.
Yes.
Because at the beginning I was translating learning French in Inuktitut in my head, and
yep,
things weren't connecting.
No, of course, yeah. Yeah, it's hard, it's hard. Yeah. You were Governor General, as you alluded to before, during some big moments for the country, the death of Queen Elizabeth, the coronation of King Charles, the apology by the Pope on Canadian soil, COVID. I wonder whether there was an event or a moment in all of those significant moments, because sometimes it's not as busy. You really had a busy time. That was meaningful for you, that was significant?
Well, Rosemary, there are so many moments, challenging moments, happy moments, difficult moments. But if I were to pick one thing, you know, the saddest part was to experience the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. But the coronation of the king was to me a very important event because the day before the coronation, I organized a meeting for the 3 indigenous leaders.
That's right, yeah.
To meet with King Charles, the day before he was coronated to become King Charles III. And since then, he has met with many indigenous leaders. So I feel that that was one of the things that is one of the highlights, because indigenous people in Canada, all they want to do is have a relationship with the king and the crown, and to work things out. And that's all, that's what it boils down to.
I'm going to end on what was, I think, one of your guiding principles, and I'm probably going to say it wrong, the Inuktitut word, ajunata?
Ajunata.
Ajunata, which means never give up.
Never give up.
And I wonder how that kept you going through this and the country going, because particularly during COVID, that was a real, I imagine it was a light for you.
Yeah, I started when COVID was still going strong. And I remember coming to Ottawa and wearing a mask in the office and for the installation. Ayuinnatam is a very important word in our language, in the Inuktitut language. It means, the translation is not as deep as the meaning in Inuktitut. It never give up against all odds, kind of like that's like a literal translation. Sure. But I used to hear it a lot when I was growing up. My grandmother, and we'd visit friends and stuff, and when people were leaving, I used to hear, Ayuinata. So people telling each other, never give up. And when I started here, I made it one of the words that we use here a lot, and in my speeches.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's a lovely word, Ajunyata, and thank you.
You too, Ayuinata.
Congratulations on,
Thank you so much.
On your time as Governor General.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You can watch more of Rosie's Sit Down with Mary Simon on YouTube. As for exactly when her term ends, retired Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour will be sworn in as Canada's 31st Governor General, June 8th. Coming up, engineering students across Canada compete in an unusual canoe contest.
You're kind of pushing the limits of what concrete can and can't do.
How they made the boats float next in our moment. These are engineering students from Toronto Metropolitan University getting ready for a canoe race. The twist? The boats are made of concrete. This year, students learned how to make the material float, culminating with teams across Canada putting their skills to the test. Now their competition makes our moment.
Our team built a concrete canoe that floats to compete against 23 schools across Canada. People don't think concrete can float, so that's the real challenge here.
Our mixed design is what makes it possible.
We start off with doing multiple iterations, researching on different canoes, and we use a software called Rhino 3D to design it. We use a CNC machine to make the separate pieces for the mold. From there, every single member come in and we essentially build the canoe in one single day.
Everyone has a different approach to making their concrete canoe because this isn't something you can Google. We don't have cement at all. We just use industrial byproduct called slag. It makes for a really sustainable concrete. You're kind of pushing the limits of what concrete can and can't do. I saw maybe half the team cry. All the work that we put in to make sure that this glides well in the water, that it was designed properly, and that it was the lightest it could be, it all paid off. It's just concrete that floats, and it's incredible.
Okay, concrete boats are impressive, but how about concrete ships? Actual large ships made of concrete. If you've ever been to Powell River in British Columbia, you may have seen them. They are amazing. Highly recommended if you're looking for a summer trip. From all of us on The National, thanks for being with us. I'm Ian Hannamansing in Vancouver. I hope you join me on CBC News Network weeknights at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. See you then.